What is timeline manipulation and light bending? So, a lot of people like to talk about different timelines, and they also like to talk a lot about numerology, gematria, and kind of show the patterns and correlations between numbers. But people don't typically talk or dive any deeper than that. They just say, well, these numbers match, so that's a conspiracy. Or they say, well, we've moved to a different timeline. How can you move to a different timeline? How can you change and alter the reality in which we live? What I teach on this channel is that at the core of all things, everything is frequency and light. We are all photon light energy, and that consists of light angles and degrees of light. If you look at your astrological chart, you will notice that there are certain degrees within the houses, and they're attached to certain astrological signs within those houses. And each of those houses rule over certain portions of your life. So if you're talking about manipulating the timeline, what is being done on a very massive scale is the bending of light using a square and compass. That means that you're using different words as sigils, and words carry energetic frequency. And when words are spoken, they have a number value and they have a frequency, and they're also light bending and shaping. Just like your name has a life path and it kind of shapes who you are, your birthday has a number, and your number or your life path number kind of shapes who you are. If I can manipulate not only the time by which you think you are in, meaning that I change the dates and I move the calendar around, as well as the people, places, and events that's in your life. And this is where we get to the bottom of the conspiracy hole, where you've dived all the way into the rabbit hole and you figured out there are certain groups that have these different people attached to it that use scripting. Okay, and we call it psyops, we call it all these different things, but at its core, what it is light bending and timeline manipulation. So what I've noticed in my journey is that a lot of manipulation has gone on within my seventh house. Okay, and the seventh house for me governs marriage, relationships, wealth, the relationships that I would have that would make my life the way that it should be. So what's done on a massive scale is you have these scriptings of popular media, news media. It is all very necessary to control the narrative in order for you to control the timeline. So you get people to act it out, say certain things, change scenarios ever so slightly in degrees. So what I'll notice is that I run across the same exact names, same patterns. And knowing my past lives, I notice the repetition of names and patterns that happened in my last life that happens in this life. However, it has been ever so slightly moved by a degree. And the perfect person shows up with the name that bends the light in a certain scenario and acts out the script in order for them to move this portion of light in my timeline. Therefore, the entire timeline becomes skewed. And when people come into your life, you think, oh, it's just happenstance. No, they could be a portion of the light bending that is necessary to move you out of your proper timeline and to move the energy or the degrees of an energy within a house within your zodiac wheel. And in order for you to control the future narrative, in order for you to create an alternative timeline where certain things do not happen, I like to talk about on this channel how there's supposed to be a man child that is born that resets the moon machine and shuts down the realm and brings about the great solar flash or the reset. Of course, people with a vested interest who do not wish for that to happen are going to ensure that they make sure they cover everything and every base, and they script the timeline accordingly. Of course, they're going to make sure that they have people in place to make sure that everything goes according to their plan so they can bend the light within this light simulation the way that they want it to go. This is what you call timeline manipulation. And what becomes the issue, especially for people like me, is when you awaken and you see this and then you reclaim your power, you say, okay, I know that this actually happens, and you begin to go off script. Okay, you no longer stay within the bounds of the script that they have given you, and you start to go off script. Well, I can tell you, I am all the way off script. Okay, as I discussed in a previous video, when you talk about the brain and dreams, your brain is like the immune system for your emotions as well as the keys within the matrix. When you dream, what I find a lot of times is that my dreams predict the future. If I have dreams about celebrities or different people, I can analyze those celebrities, their birth dates, their names, times, and all of these different numerological things that exist within the dream, and I can take the gematria and that information to predict future events. I believe that your dreams are literally attempting to course correct, just like you have dreams when you have an issue in your waking life, and your dreams are like parables to try to solve your problems so you can stop experiencing these extreme emotions. I also believe that your dreams are attempting to hack the system to show you the life path numerology that can course correct your current timeline. Okay, so start paying closer attention to your dreams. Make sure that you map them out. Make sure you write them down. Have a dream journal. Get the numerology on every single thing that exists within the dream. If you see a snake, you need to look up the gematria of a snake. Okay, and what you can do in the waking is begin to incorporate all the numbers. Okay, the numbers that are consistent, that are concurrent. I find that a lot of times when I do analyze my dreams, the numbers are so succinct and concurrent. They repeat over and over and over again. So what that means for me is that I need to find words, phrases, time stamps, okay, when I'm posting things or talking about different subjects that correlate with my dream numerology. This is your way of reclaiming your timeline, because your dreams are hacking the matrix system to course correct the numerology that is supposed to be within your life path. I'm so off script that things that I do get talked about quite a bit, and I'm quite a bit ahead of the curve in terms of me being able to pull the codes out, follow the pattern with my pattern recognition gifts, and put them at the forefront before they ever even happen. Okay, I talked about Captain Kirk in one of my diagrams weeks ago. Okay, I was already on this wavelength, already getting the information weeks ago, and I'm able to predict future patterns through understanding the methods of light bending within the matrix. And that means people, places, and things, birth dates, names, all of those things are a part of the light bending. So you're not just doing gematria to figure out, okay, well, this, look at this number pattern, it's exactly the same as this number pattern, oh my god. That's not enough. Yes, there's scripting, but understanding the why is extremely important, and understanding why it's done and recognizing that there is a script. There's really nothing they can do once you know, and once you're awakened, and once you have this information and you understand the timeline manipulation, there's nothing they can do. And this is an order, it has structure. They have to abide by rules because there are higher powers. There are people who are inherently powerful, okay? And you cannot do anything with people who are inherently powerful, meaning that they have powers that far exceed anything in a fake reality. You can have the illusion of power, you can pretend to be powerful, you can set yourself up as a president or whatever the case may be, and you can numerologically make it appear as though you have power, but that is a false power. That is not inherent power. There are people on this earth that have inherent power and connections to powerful entities and beings within the realm. And the main crux of that story is to keep those particular people from knowing that they have this power, because once you awaken to it, there's nothing they can do because you're inherently powerful. So that's the secret. And it's not to fear or worry about the things that are happening. I have zero fear. I do not care about the timeline manipulation that they did. I know now that they did it. And for me, it's all about now course correcting the timeline to make sure that that energy, because they can't take the energy away completely. Eventually, you will run into your proper timeline, but it's for you to wake up and figure out, okay, it's been manipulated, and now you're shifting the reality and taking the course by changing your mind and doing something different according to the way that yours should be set up. Now, my personal timeline is one of ease, is one of receiving. I am not supposed to be out here working like a slave, okay? I'm supposed to be receiving abundance. That is my character arc. I am a goddess of abundance, and I am a talisman as well as a muse, okay? So my life should have been spent being an artist, being super famous, actually, balanced in my marriage life, very, very, very wealthy according to my chart in my 7th house. If you have timeline manipulation, to recognize that and start making your own decisions, to wield your own magic, and understanding who you are is also understanding what your life path is supposed to be and making sure that you get to it exactly the way that it should be. Recognize your power, make your own choices, understand yourself, your chart, your life path, and what has been altered, and make powerful decisions to claim your own numerology and your own light bending magic, okay? And do the things that are powerful for you. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this message. Please like, share, and subscribe, and put a comment down in the comments just to let me know what you think of this content overall. Keep shining bright. Peace, love, and light.